Welcome to the Cozy Historian. If you find yourself drifting off before the story ends, that's perfectly fine. Just remember to like and subscribe before you fall asleep. It helps these quiet journeys through time softly continue. And before your eyes grow heavy, tell me in the comments, what time is it where you are, and what's the last thing you did before bed? Tonight, we're traveling back to the very beginning of rest itself. So fluff your pillow, pull up your blanket, and let's drift back to the world's very first bed. Once upon a time, long before the ticking of clocks or the whisper of woven cotton, sleep was simply an act, not yet a ritual. In the cool nights of ancient lands, there were no special garments for slumber. One slept in what one wore, robes, tunics, or perhaps nothing at all. The idea that there might exist clothing, made only for sleep, had not yet been dreamt. But in the sun-warmed cities and scented gardens of India, comfort took a new form. There, soft trousers called pajamas, from the Persian and Hindi for leg garment, became a beloved part of daily dress. Loose, flowing, and tied at the waist with a cord, they were perfect for the region's heat. Worn with light cotton shirts or tunics, they were garments of grace and ease, not indulgence, but good sense. When European merchants arrived, especially those of the British East India Company, they found themselves both enchanted and perspiring. The starched collars and heavy wools of home wilted in the Indian air. So, following local example, these gentlemen began donning the pajama during the evening hours. The cool cotton and freedom of movement were a revelation. In time, what had begun as practicality became something more, a symbol of a new rhythm of life. English traders and colonial officers began to associate pajamas with leisure, civility, and that rarest of luxuries, comfort. In letters home, they described the ease of slipping into native garments for the long, quiet evenings on the veranda. By the early 1800s, men returning to Britain carried more than spices and silks in their trunks. They brought home a fashion that would quietly change the texture of Western sleep. The word entered the English language as pajamas, an exotic curiosity. At first, society saw them as strange, even slightly improper. A gentleman, after all, was expected to rest in his long white nightshirt, simple, monastic, and correct. Yet the tide of taste was shifting as global trade flourished and British households filled with goods from far-off lands. People began to crave softness, comfort, and small indulgences. The pajama fit this new mood perfectly. By mid-century, fashion magazines, such as the Gentleman's Journal, began to speak approvingly of the Eastern mode of sleeping attire. Tailors, ever alert to opportunity, began to reinterpret the style. Instead of drawstrings and thin cotton, they cut pajamas from brushed flannel, added neat collars and cuffs, and fastened them with small pearl buttons. The result was both familiar and new, a suit for slumber, dignified yet relaxing. And so, pajamas crept quietly from the verandas of Calcutta to the bedrooms of London. They were no longer a symbol of otherness, but a token of refinement. For the Victorians, who loved propriety and ritual, even the act of sleeping required order. A gentleman might have a morning coat, a dinner jacket, and now a proper suit for bed. But beneath that crisp respectability, something softer stirred. Pajamas were not just a garment. They were a whisper of rest, a promise of peace in an industrious world. As the 19th century deepened, Pajamas became the quiet uniform of those who valued both decorum and comfort. In the illustrated magazines of the 1870s, one might find depictions of a gentleman reading by the fire in a striped set of cotton pajamas, his feet in slippers, his pipe smoking gently. They looked almost like day clothes, but softer, humbler, made for the hours between waking and dream. Soon, women began to take notice. Victorian ladies, ever bound in stays and stiff petticoats by day, found freedom in this new idea of comfort at night. Though at first frowned upon by polite society, by the 1890s, ladies' lounging pajamas began to appear in Parisian salons and fashion journals. Silk replaced flannel, ribbons replaced buttons. Pajamas became not just for sleep, but for the art of being at ease. The Edwardian era brought elegance to every corner of life, including the bedroom. Seamstresses embroidered delicate florals along cuffs and hems, and pastel silk sets were sold in the most fashionable London shops. For the first time, pajamas became a symbol of intimacy, of quiet luxury shared between the hours of dusk and dawn. By the 1920s, the pajama was no longer a novelty. It had crossed oceans and classes, embraced by both men and women, young and old. The rise of the leisure class, the invention of central heating, and the popularity of indoor living all contributed to this newfound devotion to comfort. In seaside resorts and Art Deco hotels, beach pajamas became fashionable for women. Wide-legged, flowing garments that blurred the line between loungewear and daywear. Pajamas had escaped the bedroom entirely. They had become a declaration that one could rest gracefully. Through the 1930s and 40s, pajamas appeared on silver screens, romanticized by Hollywood. Cary Grant and Clark Gable wore them with impeccable charm. Jean Harlow and Claudette Colbert turned them into icons of allure. The once humble pajama from the Indian subcontinent had, by a strange alchemy of trade and taste, become a global symbol of relaxation and romance. And still, they evolved. Wartime scarcity encouraged practicality. Sturdy cottons, simple stripes. Post-war prosperity brought flannel plaids and cheerful prints. Children's storybooks filled with drawings of families in matching pajamas, gathered around Christmas trees or fireplaces. Sleepwear had become more than fashion. It was affection made visible, the fabric of home itself. Today we might reach for a favorite pair of pajamas without a thought, unaware that the garment connects us to centuries of history, to the artisans who wove light cotton in ancient India, to the merchants who traded by moonlight on warm seas, to the Victorians who stitched comfort into respectability. Each thread carries a fragment of their world. And in that sense, when we button our pajamas and turn down the lamps, we are participating in a quiet human tradition, the art of preparing for rest. It is a reminder that even the simplest comfort was once a discovery, carried by ships, shaped by empires, softened by love, and preserved by every dreamer since. So as your eyes grow heavy and the edges of the day begin to fade, think for a moment of those who first thought to clothe themselves for sleep. They gave us not only warmth and modesty, but a symbol of peace, of letting go, of trust in the night. And so, dear listener, as the candles fade and the night deepens, may your dreams be filled with the soft echoes of history. Until next time, sleep well. You've been listening to The Cozy Historian, where the past is a pillow and every story is a place to rest.